Imbibers, welcome to today's session. So a very warm welcome to the 12th standard students. So this is your first session and I'll be, let me introduce myself. So I am Anam Khan, I'll be your botany expert and we will be discussing all the chapters related to botany. And today we are starting with our very first chapter of our 12th board examination and the NCERT, which is the introduction to the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So children, since this is the very first class, so we'll be going with the very basic points of the sexual reproduction and eventually we'll be discussing about the more conceptual things. Okay, so children, I would like to request you, so before you come for the class, do attend for the pre and the post class activities on the Embibe app, okay, so that you have a better understanding of the concept, and after the class is done, go for the post class activity so that whatever has been taught in the class, you can attempt questions related to it, and basically you should know yourself that whether you have understood whatever is being taught in the class or not. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's start our today's session. So children, today's session is about the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Before that, I'm going to give you a few hints about it. And I know children, in the 11th standard you have learned about the morphology of the plants, and there it was the flower, and of course you have learned about the angiospermic flowers, because the angiospermic flowers are the most advanced, most modified kind of flowers they have, and they are the only flowering family. Okay, so today also we're going to discuss about that family only, those angiospermic plants only which have flowers, and how they sexually reproduce and their sexual and reproductive organs, the pre and the post class events, or the pre and post fertilization events. Okay, so let's start our today's session talking about the very first thing. Children, all the topics today will be, all the topics related to this particular chapter would be covered in the coming session, will be related to, today's topic is related to the just introduction of the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. Then we're going to study about the flower also. Then we're going to jump to the stamen. We're going to discuss about the whole androecium. Then we're going to discuss about the gynoecium. We're going to study about the pollination, then about the outbreeding devices, double fertilization, post fertilization, seed and fruit formation, and apomixis and polyembryony. So we're going to discuss all these amazing topics in all the session, all the coming session. So please, you have to register for the class on the Embibe app. Okay, just log into that and register so you never miss an update related to the classes. Okay, following today class, the concepts today would be covered, would be related to the whole sexual reproduction flowering plants. What are the flowering plants, what are the components of that, and yet we're going to discuss about also the pre and the post class pre and the post class, not activities, of course, the pre and the post fertilization events. And that got stuck in my mind because just now we were talking about those pre and post class activities. No, we're going to discuss about the pre and the post class fertilization event. We're going to discuss fertilization events. What happens before them, what happens after the fertilization. Okay, so without any wasting time, let's start our session, children. What are the flowering plants? What is the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants? Talking about it, children, you know the plants or the angiospermic family, which are the flowering, are a group of plants which reproduce occurs through the flowers, in which the reproduction, the whole reproduction, the capability of the angiospermic plants to reproduce comes because they have flowers. Yes, they have their respective reproductive organs. Yes, due to the presence of the flowers, due to the presence of the reproductive organs, they are capable of undergoing the sexual reproductions. Yes, the flowers are the site of reproduction in angiosperms. Of course, the flowers only have the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system, and they are the site for the fertilization or for the sexual events to take place. So yes, the flowers are the site, the whole site where place where the sexual reproduction actually takes place. Simple. Sexual reproduction, children, in plants is a complicated process and that results in the formation of seeds. Yes, after the fertilization events, after the sexual reproduction taking place in the flowering plants, the result would be what? There would be the formation of seeds, fruits, etc. Okay. So the main aim, the main agenda, I would say, for the sexual reproduction to take place in this family, on the angiospermic family or the flowering plants, is basically to do the formation of the seed, and that is a very complicated process, because in the coming topics you will understand this is not easy, because I know this is the very first class, this is a very basic introduction we will be talking about today, but yet it is difficult. It has little bit more concepts, how exactly the seed formation is taking place, what about the pollination events, different types of pollination events, and what happens after the fertilization is basically taking place. And since they are angiospermic family, they had this unique feature of double fertilization. So what is double fertilization will be also discussing in the coming session. So yes, that is why we have written that it is going to be a complicated process just to have the formation of the seeds. Okay. And these seeds, what they do? They germinate. The germination of the seeds produces new plants. Yes, these seeds germinate to produce new plants. Of course, we need to do the fertilization, and these seeds will germinate to form the new plants. That's the all we want. We want reproduction is basically to have new offsprings. Yes or no? That's the whole point of having the sexual reproduction or any kind of a reproduction, to basically have the new offsprings, new individual, new organisms from the existing parents. Okay. So basically after the events of fertilization are taking place, the seed formation has taken place, this seed will germinate and give birth or give rise to a new plants. That's all we basically want from the sexual reproduction. Okay. So this was a brief introduction about what is the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Moving forward, talking about the reproductive organs and other parts existing in the flowering plants, let's discuss about them. Talking about, yes, flower, which we said the site of the flower, which is the site of the reproduction in angiospermic plants. Yes, these are the site for the reproduction, and they have actually a different parts or characteristics or morphology or different morphology of the flowers, which is responsible for the reproduction. Okay. So children, each flower has different parts involved definitely in the process of the fertilization. So all the morphological features and all the embryological wonders are present in this flowers. So each flower consists of different parts. What are the different parts each flowers have? They have calyx, they have corolla, yet they have androecium, the male reproductive system, the gynoecium, the female reproductive part in the flower. So as you can see over here also, children, this is your pedicel, this is your pedicel, this is your ovary, this is a filament, style, stigma, petal. So this is your what? Calyx. This is your calyx. These colors are, petals are corolla. I know you know this about. Okay. Yes or no? These are your androecium and this is your gynoecium. Yes or no? So these are the few parts existing in the flower. All are responsible for taking part in the sexual reproduction. Okay. So let's see, let's explore each and every part and what unique characteristics they have, so that they are the part of the flowers and they are participating in the events of the reproduction. So the very first is the calyx. So as you can see, yes, it is a green color. Yes, the individual, the single unit is called as sepals. A group of sepals is called calyx. I know this is something you already know, because in the 11th standard you have studied the morphology of plants. Yes or no? Root, stem, modification, calyx, corolla, flowers, everything you have studied, but still revising the whole concept, talking about the calyx. The calyx is the what? The calyx is the whole, the part, the green part covering around the outer roll consisting of the sepal. Sepal is the single unit of calyx. Okay. What are these are non-essential accessory parts. What are non-essential accessory parts? It means parts which assist in the process of reproduction but do not directly involved in the reproduction yet. These are just covering around the corolla. Corolla, what is corolla? The petals. Okay, we're going to discuss about that. But these are not directly participating. They are not directly participating. They are externally just assisting, just covering, basically protecting the flower from any kind of a danger or something. Yes, but they are not directly involved in the fertilization events. Okay, so that is why it is also called non-essential or accessory part. What is accessory part? Which assist the process of protection but do not directly take part in the reproduction. So it is non-essential, reproductive or accessory part of the flower. Okay, as you can see children, the sepals are green. The sepals are green and leaf like protect the flower in the bud stage. That is what I told you, no? Yes, since have you seen a bird before it has, before the flower, I would say what's the exact word we use? So once the flower is basically open, okay, and before it is being covered with the calyx because it needs certain kind of a protection. Okay, so this calyx protects the flower in the bud stage before the bud becomes a whole flower. Khile isse pehle, like that, okay, because it just bloom. Okay, before the flower blooms, there is a bud which is needed to be protected and it has a covering of the calyx. So that is what the calyx, or you can also say the sepals, cover the buds and which protect it in the bud stage. So this is the basic feature of the calyx, that what is calyx, how it is involving, why we are calling as an accessory and non-essential accessory part, and how it has been participating in the reproductive system. Clear? I really hope this is clear. Talking about this is the calyx, let's talk about the corolla. Okay, the other part of the flowering plants, the sexual reproduction of flowering plants. Corolla is absolutely important, children. It has a very unique capability which directly or indirectly, whatever you say, it is absolutely needed. Okay, so what is corolla? Single unit. What is petal? Petal is the single unit. A group of petal is called corolla. Okay, children, these are composed of petals. Yes, the petals are usually brightly colored, attract insects for pollination. Yes, this is very, very important. You know why you like a flower? Because it is a very nice calyx, or it has a very nice androecium or gynoecium? No. Whenever you are attracted towards the flower, it is because of the color, the arrangement of the petals. That is what attracts you. The fragrance, yes or no? The rose, the sunflowers, what? They are very attractive because of the whole arrangement of the petals, yes or no? So children, the most attractive part of the flower is the corolla, is the petals. It's the group of petals which is brightly colored and exist in different colors. If you are attracted towards it and you wanted to basically just pluck it from a plant, these insects, especially the pollinators are very much attracted because they think this colored part will have their nectar, and when they come for the nectar, they absorb the nectar and give the pollen for the pollination. So this is something which is a trap, of course, which increases the beauty of the flower, but it also acting as a attracting agent, or because of this the insects are attracted for the pollination. But this is also called as non-essential or accessory part of the flower. I would not say it is. Calyx is absolutely very much non-essential accessory part, but corolla might not be taking participation in the events of the fertilization, but if the corolla is not there, none of the insects going to attract towards the flower and going to have the pollination, and if there are no pollens, there will be no fertilization. But yet it has been called as non-essential accessory part because it is not taking participation in the fertilization events, but yet it is important. Even if the calyx is important, the corolla is also important. Clear? So children, you know the petals can be of different shapes and different sizes: tubular, bell shaped, funnel shaped or wheel shaped. They can be of different types. Yes, the whole petals can be of different types. They can be tubular, they can be bell shaped, they can be funnel shaped or they can be wheel shaped. They exist in different shapes and sizes. Yes, okay. So this is about the second part or part of the flower which is also taking place, which is also maybe non-essential accessory part, but yet participating in the sexual reproduction from the outside only, but it is participating. Okay. Moving forward to our third, which is absolutely important, which is your androecium. What is androecium, children? Androecium is the male reproductive unit. Yes, androecium is the male reproductive unit. Talking about the androecium, it is an absolutely essential part of the flower. Of course, it's a male reproductive unit because it will be giving rise to male gametes. Okay, and consists of a stamen. What is a stamen? A stamen consists of a filament and an anther. So this whole part from tip to bottom is called as stamen. And the stamen is divided into this part, which is an anther, and the whole long filamentous like structure, which is called a filament. Okay, so the stamen, which is a androecium part, which is a part of the male reproductive system, which is the stamen. Stamen is divided into two parts: a filamentous like structure, which is called filament, and the anther. Okay, what is anther, children? I can say anther is a bilobed, and each lobe has two chambers known as pollen sac. If you just cut, you can see two lobes are there. These are two lobes. Yes, if I cut this lobe in a transverse section, I will see there are four pollen chambers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each bilobed structure will have 4 pollen chambers. Each bilobed structure will have 4 pollen chambers. Okay, so bilobe structure of the anther will have the stamen. The bilobe structure of the anther, which is a part of the stamen, has this 1, 2, 3, 4 chambers of what? Pollen sacs. And what they have? They basically produce the male gamete, which is known as pollen. Yes, the pollen grains are produced in the pollen sac. What is a pollen grain? A pollen grain is a male gamete. A pollen grain is a male gamete. Okay, absolutely important. Yes or no? So children, the androecium is the male reproductive part. It consists of stamen. The stamen is divided into filament and the anther. The filamentous is this just a non-part. It is not taking in the just basically a stalk, but through this stalk there is anther attached, and anther is the main part which consists of the pollen sacs, which is a bilobe structure, consists of the pollen sac, and these pollen sacs have the pollen grains, which is the male gamete. Okay, so yes, this is one of the major absolutely important reproductive unit and of the part of the flowering plants. Okay, moving forward to our another absolutely important part of the flowering plant is the gynoecium. What is gynoecium, children? A gynoecium is a female reproductive part. A gynoecium is a female reproductive part and is absolutely essential part of the flower, and it is absolutely essential part of the flower. What it consists of? It consists of carpel. It consists of carpel. Yes, what is the carpel? As you can see, this is the whole part is the carpel. Exactly just like the androecium has what? Stamen. The gynoecium has a carpel. Okay. The carpel is further divided into stigma, style, ovary. Just like the stamen was divided into filamentous and anther, exactly the carpel, which is a unit of gynoecium, is further divided into stigma, style and ovary. What is stigma, style and ovary? If you see, the stigma is the receiver. It receives the pollen grain. This part is receiving pollen grain. This part is receiving pollen grain. This part, which is a pipe-like structure, through the pollen tube formation takes the pollen to the ovary. Okay, this style basically after the pollen is received on the platform which is called stigma, takes the pollen grain towards the ovary. The style is an elongated tube-like part connecting stigma and the ovary. Okay, children, ovary is the basal swollen part which contain ovules. What are ovules? The female, what are ovules? The female gamete. The female gamete. Okay, so the gynoecium. Gynoecium is divided into, it has a unit called carpel. The carpel is further divided into stigma, style and ovary. What is stigma? Stigma is a landing platform which receives the pollen grain, which is the male gamete. What is style? A style is a tube-like structure which is connecting the stigma and the ovary. Okay, so the ovary, which is a basal, which is a swollen part of the carpel, which has ovule, which is the female gamete. Okay, yes or no? So yes, androecium and gynoecium is absolutely important, and the most important part of the reproduction or the flowering plants which take direct participation. Without them, the sexual reproduction is not possible in the flowering plants, and then absolutely very necessary for the reproduction. Okay, we have discussed about the androecium, we have discussed about the gynoecium, we have discussed about the calyx, we have discussed about the corolla. All the four important reproductive parts has been discussed, okay, of the angiospermic plants or the flowering plants. As you can see, putting all them together, you can see, children, this is how they look. Can you see this? This is how they look. This is your receptor. This is also called receptacle. These are the ovules arranged inside the ovary. Okay, this is the style, this is the stigma, these are the anther, this is the filament, these are the petals and these are the sepals. Can you see this? Calyx, sepals, corolla, petals, stamen, filament, anther, carpel, stigma, style, ovary, and ovary has ovules. So this is the all structure being put together, creating a whole flower, which is the structure of the flower. Clear? I hope this is very clear. Moving forward, talking about the flower more, we have the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Children, there are events taking place. Yes, it's not an easy process. Sexual reproduction has always been difficult respect to the asexual and the vegetative reproduction. So there are certain events which is taking place one by one. Talking about these events, these are divided into three. First is the pre-fertilization events, the other are the fertilization events, the other are the post-fertilization events. Three events eventually taking part, and each event has its own value to add up, and each event is important, and everything takes place in a proper process, in a proper manner. Their respective point, their respective characteristics of each of the events. We will see what each events have, talking about the pre-fertilization event, fertilization events, and of course the post-fertilization events. Let's see what we have in each of them. talking about the pre-fertilization events. So children, what is pre-fertilization events? Talking about the pre-fertilization events before the actual fertilization process is taking place. Very simple. When before the male and female gamete fuse, there is a need to create those gametes only. First you have to create. The process of creating the gametes is also important. So the pre-fertilization events is when the male gamete, which is a pollen grain, or the female gamete, which is the ovule, the formation of them takes place. So children, talking about the full fertilization refer to all the events taking before the fertilization. This includes gametogenesis, which is the formation of gametes. Yes, the gametes are formed in the pollen sac and the ovary of the gynoecium or the carpel. And the other event is, after the gametes formation has taken place, those gametes are needed to be transferred from the male to the female reproductive part. So yes, the other is the gamete transfer, the transfer of male gamete to female gamete in the flower. Yes, the very first pre-fertilization event is the creation of the gametes. The gamete transfer is the whole male gamete is being transferred to the female gamete or the female part of the flower. So these are two pre-fertilization events which are taking place before the whole fusion of gametes are taking place. First you need to create these gametes, the other you need to transfer the gametes from one to another. Moving forward, after the pre-fertilization events, let's see what are the fertilization events. But before that, we have a question. Link the main bubble with the correct accessory organ. Link the main bubble with the correct accessory organ. Come on, quickly. Yes, the main bubble with the correct accessory organ, there are only two accessory organs which are the calyx and the corolla. Non-essential, but they are accessory organ assisting in the reproductive events. Okay. Moving forward children, the fertilization event. So children, what is a fertilization event? Talking about the fertilization event children, it is the fusion of male gamete and the female gamete. Yes, what is the fertilization event? Do not think, oh, this is a very basic session ma'am are just discussing which we already know. I understand that you know everything, you must have studied, you must have gone through the book, but these are the basis of whatever we are going to study further in this sessions. All the events which are being discussed in the overview will be discussed in detail in all the respective sessions, that how the transfer is taking place, how the formation of gamete is taking place, which process is needed. Okay, the ploidies will be discussed. Every particular event has its own characteristics which will be discussed in detail in all the coming session. Okay, so do not think these are the basics. You might be the basics, but since you are in the 12th standard and you are going to give the board examination and you might give the NEET examination also. You might give the NEET examination also. So the reason, just one step at a time children, this is very basic. So giving you an overview whatever we are going to study in all the session of the sexual reproduction of flowering plants. Okay, talking about the fertilization event, which is the fusion of male and the female gamete, which is also called syngamy. What is syngamy? Syngamy is the fusion of male and the female gamete. Okay, fusion of male and female gamete. Yes, there is a very unique feature of the angiospermic family or the flowering family, which is the double fertilization. What is double fertilization? I will be discussing about that, but again going to just introduce you to this word, which is the double fertilization, which is absolutely unique event taking place in the angiospermic plants only. What is double fertilization? We'll have this detail, but this is a part of the fertilization event. That what is a fertilization? The fusion of gametes, the syngamy takes place, and yet there is a unique fertilization, which is a double fertilization, which takes place. In detail we will discuss, but now we have just introduced you towards that word. Let's see what is a fertilization. As you can see, children, this is what the pollen is being given to stigma. It is basically reaching towards the ovary. This is how it has been fusing, going to fuse with the ovules. Yes or no? This is how it going to fuse. So fusion of gametes is called, the fusion of gametes is called syngamy. Moving forward to our post fertilization events. So ma'am, what is the post fertilization events? They are also very important. They are also very necessary steps taking place one by one after the syngamy has taken place. Now what? After the fertilization, after the fusion of gametes, there will be a zygote formation. Yes, not embryo, zygote will be formed at first. Whenever there is a fusion of gametes, the first formation is always zygote. Okay, the zygote will undergo further division and will create an embryo. Okay, so the first formation is of zygote, and zygote is a diploid cell formed after fertilization. It is a crucial link between two generations. It is a crucial link between two generations. Why two generations? Because one is coming from the female, the other is coming from the male. So two male gametes are basically fusing. That is why it is called as two generation. Crucial link between two generations. The fusion has taken place. So the embryo is a connecting link between the parent gametes and of course the new offspring which will be going to have, or which is basically the new plant which is going to form. Okay, next the embryogenesis, children, the development of an embryo from the zygote. This is what I said, the zygote will undergo further division and will give rise to an embryo. Okay, embryo will further develop and will form respective things. Of course, we are going to discuss about in the embryogenesis. The zygote develop inside the ovule in plants, produce flowers. The zygote grows into an embryo. The ovules become seeds while the ovary becomes fruit. Yes, children, after the syngamy has taken place, after the fusion of gametes has taken place, each and every part will convert into its respective form. So what? The zygote will grow into an embryo, the ovules will become seeds, the ovary will become the fruit. So I know you have eaten what? Lemon. Have you seen lemon? Cut it into two pieces, all the small seeds, what are that? They are ovules only. Okay, because only one gamete will fertilize, na? Rest of will be there. There are not only one ovule, there are lots of ovule. So only one will fertilize, the rest of will convert into seed. The whole ovary will convert into a fruit. So these are the events will be taking place after the zygote, after the embryo formation, which comes in the post fertilization events. Let's drag the slider to see the formation of the fruit. Talking about this, children, let's see. This is how all the particular accessory has fallen down after the fusion of the gametes, and this particular ovary will convert into a fruit and the ovules will convert into a seed. Can you see this, children? These are the post fertilization events. Clear? This is how it is being converted into a fruit, how it's swollen up. If you cut it into two pieces, you will find the seeds inside it. Okay, so these comes in the post fertilization events. So whatever we have discussed all the reproductive parts. Okay, we have discussed about the pre-fertilization events, we have discussed about the fertilization events, we have discussed about the post fertilization. I have given you an introduction to all the events, but again I am telling you, this might sound very basic, but in the coming sessions we are going to discuss everything in detail, exactly what is going to happen. So just the events these are taking place, these are the parts of the angiospermic flowering plants, yet the whole detailed description is still left. Okay. Moving forward children, let's we have what we have next. We have a question. So you need to connect the pre-fertilization events to the main bubble. What do you think are the pre-fertilization events in all of them? What do you think are the pre-fertilization events in all of them? What do you think is the pre-fertilization events in all of them? What do you think are the pre-fertilization events in all of them? Yes, pre-fertilization events are gamete transfer, gametogenesis, zygote formation or syngamy. Simple children, the pre-fertilization is the gametogenesis and the gamete transfer. After the gametes are being formed, the male gamete will be transferred to the female. Absolutely simple. The zygote formation and the syngamy. Syngamy is a fertilization event while the zygote formation is the post-fertilization event. Okay. So moving forward children, then next we have a question again. The fusion of two results in the formation of zygote. What would be the answer? The fusion of gametes basically results in the formation of a zygote, which zygote will further divide and will convert it into an embryo. Okay. Very basic, absolutely basic. Next question children, a flower can be regarded as a perfect flower when? What do you think is a perfect flower? What is a definition of a perfect flower according to you? What is the definition of the perfect flower? What is the need of, what is the features or regarded as a perfect flower? Yes, so the definition of a perfect flower is regarded as a flower which has both essential roles are present. Okay, both essential roles are present. A flower can be regarded as perfect flower when both essential roles, androecium and gynoecium, are present. Other question is, link the main bubble with the correct accessory organ. What do you think is the correct accessory organ? Accessory, non-essential accessory. Which is the correct accessory organ? Accessory role is a stamen, corolla, calyx, pistil. Of course children, the correct accessory organ would be the calyx and the corolla. The petals and the sepals are the accessory parts, okay, or the accessory organ of the flower. Okay. Moving forward children, again we have a question. Double fertilization is a unique feature. There is no question what is double fertilization. It is just a basic question that double fertilization is a unique feature of what? A double fertilization is a unique feature of what? Children, the double fertilization is a very unique feature of the flowering plants or the angiospermic plants. What is double fertilization? It's still a question, we are going to discuss it, not a problem. Moving forward children, what we have next? Again, we have a question again. So, which of the following represents the reproductive part of the flowers? Which is the reproductive? Only more than one answer would be correct. Which of the following represents the reproductive part of the flower? Reproductive part of the flower. Yes, the stamen and the pistil are the reproductive part of the flower. Pistil, stamen. Okay. Carpel also. Pistil or carpel. So children, the next session would be about this only. We are going to discuss about the male reproductive organ, which is the androecium, and how androecium is contributing towards an amazing reproductive organ in a flower. So we are going to have a detailed discussion about the microsporangium, stamen, anther in the next session. So please do register yourself for the class on the Embibe app, because this is going to be a very detailed discussion about only and only male reproductive part. One by one we are going to discuss everything, but before we go, you know children, the whole summary, everything which is being discussed today. So flowers are very crucial part in the angiospermic plants. Flowers are having the all reproductive male and female reproductive organs which are responsible for the sexual reproduction. And the androecium, which is the male reproductive organ, gynoecium is the female reproductive organ. The androecium is divided into stamen, and the stamen is further divided into filament, which is and of course the anther. Okay. And the gynoecium has a carpel or a pistil, which is divided into two stigma, style and ovary. These stages of the fertilization, which is the post, pre and of course the fertilization events. Pre is the events of gametogenesis and the gamete transfer. Fertilization event is refers to the fusion of male and female gametes, and the post fertilization involves the zygote formation and embryogenesis. I know this was a very basic section. This is the very first session of the 12th board and 12 CBSE children. I want you to attend all the upcoming classes, because they are going to be a detailed discussion about this particular. This chapter is also important with respect to your NEET examination also. Okay, so do not think it's coming only board examination. There are a lot of question also comes from this chapter in the NEET examination also. Okay. Children, before you go, let me introduce you to this amazing app, which is an Embibe app, which as I was talking about. So as you can see, there's a NEET is selected. You can also select your board, as you can just press on the NEET. As you press on the next, I want to excel in school. So this is your school, this is your board. Whichever board you belong to, you can select. After selecting the board, children, you can select your respective examination. Since you belong to the 12th CBSE, you can just select it and you press next, respective language, done, and you land on this Embibe page. You can just go on the home page, click on the Embibe live classes, and all the respective classes which has been scheduled will be here, children, and all the coming session will be scheduled over there, and the next 7 days classes and all the past classes will be always there. You can learn, you can practice, you can test, you can learn yourself, you can practice different questions, and you can also test yourself in this particular app. It's typically the one-stop solution for everything. There are books, there are questions, there are live classes, there is everything over here. Okay. And before that, children, I would like to introduce you to this amazing app, which is the Embibe Lens app. What you have to do, just have to download it. Go open your textbook, any textbook, be it physics, chemistry, biology. Just scan the text. It will highlight all the keywords and will show you everything in 3D. So it is an amazing visual learning app. So please do try this app. Okay. We will meet again with the another topic of the sexual reproduction of flowering plants. Everything will be detailed. Discussed in the detail. Please do attempt the post class activity, children. It's going to help you only. Okay. Tell your friends about the live classes. We will meet again. Till then, keep imbibing. Bye bye. Take care.
Keep imbibing. We believe in you.